Hi, GCC. My name is Michelle Yang, and I'm a junior at Penn studying BBB, and here's the testimony of the work that God has been doing in my life. I was born and raised in the church, and I've been a believer for as long as I can remember. Up until middle school, you could describe my faith as diligent but somewhat legalistic, all while lacking a day-to-day manifestation of God's truth in my life. While I was perusing my 2006 diary over winter break, I actually realized how seriously I took suggestions from Sunday school teachers to write, memorize, and reflect on verses, and I ended up memorizing dozens of them, filled pages of my journals with my thoughts, and did QTs regularly. But my understanding of the Lord wasn't mature, and my faith was driven by so much legalism and fear after memorizing verses like Matthew 7:21-23, which states, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven will enter. Many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord,' and then I will declare to them, 'I never knew you.'" As a result of my misguided focus on following these rules and making sure that on the day of judgment I would be accepted by the Lord, I ended up developing a really strong sense of self-righteousness towards my church peers, shamelessly rebuking them for coming to church if they only wanted to socialize or flirt. In retrospect, I see the Lord has placed in me from the beginning a really intense level of honesty and the gift to point people towards the Word, but at the time it was a source of pride for me to feel holier than my peers. Once high school started, expectations to excel academically and ensure accolades were heavily reinforced by my peers, and I lived in a really competitive and nearly toxic school district. With regular appearances of peers crying in the hallways after getting lower than 93s on exams, I never questioned the high academic standards that my peers strived for, and I just adopted the mentality that I also needed to be investing every minute into my studies or my extracurriculars. I started seeing my Friday nights and Sunday mornings at church as wasted time that could be used towards my studying, and I stopped going to church altogether. Ensuring strategic movements to build my college application and seeing any activity I participated in as some sort of investment for my future goal of attending a good college was my only priority. And also attending a 2-year boarding school filled with some very intelligent minds also continued to ingrain in me this very strong sense of pride in excelling at my academics. God just faded out of the picture, and I saw my college acceptance to Penn as a result of my hard work and my efforts, not because of God's grace. Coming to Penn freshman year was disastrous. For the first time in my life, endless hours of poring over textbooks and practice exams just weren't enough to get the A's. I received B's and even a C for the first time in my life, and worse, they were in my science courses, the ones that were supposedly most important for medical school applications. The anxiety I experienced over fears of getting rejected from top-tier medical schools became all-consuming, and I slowly became numb to my grades and developed really intense insecurities about intellectual incompetency. It eventually turned into this obsession with studying, and I locked myself up for hours on end just to study and pore over my work. Yet the second I received a grade that was lower than my expectations, any ounce of confidence in myself instantly shattered. I was shackled. In a bout of intense anxiety over the future, God spoke to me during an FNL right before finals while worshiping to "When You Walk Into the Room." Could it be real that His presence can strip away the anxiety and worries? Could it be real that my struggles are part of God's plan for me and that He's greater than this? Lifting up my arms for the first time in worship and in complete surrender, I broke down weeping, and for the first time in that moment, I tasted the freedom that only the Lord has to offer. After FNL ended and everyone cleared out the area, I had time alone just to sit and be present and think about what had just happened. That freedom I felt in that moment of breakthrough left me desperately wanting more of God's truth. All this time I thought that everything was okay and under control, but God used this moment of breakthrough to show me that there's something so much more, something so much sweeter, much greater and grander than I could ever imagine. And the freedom that I experienced with this truth in that area of my life that I idolize most, my academics, is the same freedom that has been breaking through in every area of my life since coming to college. The Lord has been taking me by the hand and saying, Michelle, this is a chain that keeps you in a life of captivity. Let me break it off of you and show you what it's like to run free. And every time he starts to take those chains off, it hurts so much and I struggle so much. But the moment they come off, I feel the chains come off and it's so incredible. God breaks every chain, and his spirit is greater and more empowering than any human effort, any human thought, or any human construct. There's power in the name of Jesus, and only he can set free. College has been a time of chains being broken. My pride, my idol of academics, reliance upon external validation, lies of being unloved, and past hurts, just to name a few. I have no doubt that the Lord's work in my life from here on out is only for me, not against me, and that has never stopped being the power of Jesus that carries me through. I also just want to give a shout out to my family group Succulents for really walking with me during this tumultuous period of my life. And if there was just one verse that I could use to summarize my walk, it'd be 2 Corinthians 3:17. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. Thank you.